Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Akron Zips Dynasty mode here in CFB 26. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the off season, and obviously we saw that we lost a bunch of good players in that off season, but our team does have a good rating, so I'm still a little bit optimistic that we could have potentially a rebound season. Last year was obviously not a good year for his team, so I'm really hoping that this team finds itself this season, but you can see if we scroll on all the way down to our team here, we are actually now rated an 80 overall with 81 offense and 79 defense. I'm kind of surprised on that because we did lose a lot of good players, like I said, last offseason, but we do still have some pretty damn good depth on a roster, I guess. And obviously we have brought in some decent recruits, so I'm hoping we continue to build up this team, and I'm hoping that this team finds a way to obviously get back to that championship game this season. But you can see if we go to view roster here, we do have guys like Durango, Holmberg as well up to an 89. Carter's still here as an 87. So this team still has a lot of 80 plus players on it. So I'm expecting still some good results. And hopefully we continue to get good growth from this roster. So that way we could still maintain this roster before people start to graduate like what happened last year. So anyways, with that said, I think we're ready to get into doing some recruiting. Obviously, we need to do some good recruiting work, hopefully, this season. I don't know if I might spend any time on any 4-star recruits because we haven't gotten a 4-star recruit since we had Robert Thomas. So I'm thinking we probably will focus mostly on 3-star recruits at this point. And obviously, hopefully, we'll focus on their season as well and win some games as well at the same point in time. So yeah, let's go on over to the recruiting board and see what we got for the season, what we want to focus on, which obviously you can see on the top, we need a lot of things going into next season. So I'm really hoping that we can land a lot of these 3-star guys that we'll have interest in. So yeah, like I said, we're not going to throw our name into the hat for any 4 stars this year. I think we need to look into guys in our positions, and I think 3 stars are okay for us to do so. Starting off with quarterbacks, I think this is definitely an area we need to look into a little bit this season, just because obviously I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jennings is going into his last season here potentially. So let's add 2 people per area of need at least. So we'll do 2 quarterbacks. So his with playing time as well. Let's do both you guys. Then we'll head on over to halfback. We need a lot of halfbacks this year, so I'm hoping we could lock down a couple of them. So we'll do Duggins for playing time, and same with Fong. We'll head to wide receiver. Hopefully we can put a good amount of hours into a lot of these guys too. We'll do Jared Harris, and we will also go down a little bit looking for playing time or proximity to home. Let's do J.J. Burt. We'll head to tight end because we need 3 of them. Proximity home is not the craziest on him. It's good on Grubbs, though. So let's do Jose Grubbs. And we'll also have one for Roland Bigsby. Tackle, we need 4. So we will take a look at... wait, was Cloud good? Yeah, we'll do Cloud. Delvin Cloud, what a name. And who doesn't have playing style? There you go. Marquez Below. We'll head to guard now. There's a lot of things we need. We're only going to do, I guess, 1 center because we only need 1 center. Or maybe we won't even look at center yet. Let's do Trent Hirschberger. Damn, some of these names are still pretty crazy. For edge rushers, let's go down here. There is Guzman. And there is Cox as well. Defensive tackle. There's another Jennings. Proximity home is good, so let's do Scott Jennings with that one. And also Shaq Muir? Yeah, Muir. Probably something like that. Outside linebacker, we need 5 of them this year, so we might as well start throwing our names in the hat for a lot of these guys. Let's take a look at this. Playing time for Trevin Harris. And also for Freeman. Greg Freeman? Yeah, let's do that. I only put 1 guard, I just realized, so we probably should look for another guard. For the mics, let's see what we got here for 3 stars. Devin Madden. We only need 2 of them, technically, so let's just do 1 on the mic as well while we're at it, because it's not as huge of a name, or need, I should say. Quarterback, let's see, anybody. Proximity to home, we'll do Trey Ahmad. We will also go with Javon. Interesting name there. Free safety, we need 2 of them, so we'll just go for 1 for the time being. Let's do Deontay Hicks. Strong safety, we need 3, so we might as well throw him into the hat for 2. So Ezekiel Dejiri, there's only 1 3-star. Okay, so I guess we'll do a 2-star strong safety, but he won't have any time spent on him yet because it's not that drastically important. And then we'll go to centers again because we didn't even put 1 on our center thing. Let's go for... not Blizzard, even though he's got a cool name. Yeah, maybe we'll go for Blizzard just because of the cool name, even though it's plain style related. Might as well bring a Blizzard to Ohio. And then, yeah, we'll look at 1 more guard as well. And that should give us a lot of players, at least on our target list. And not all of them will have time spent on them in the beginning. But we can offer scholarships to all of them at the beginning, so that's what we're going to obviously be doing. So let's go back over here and start offering a scholarship to all of them. I wish there was a way to do like a batch scholarship offer where you just offer everybody in your recruiting list one. But I guess if you have more... Actually, no, I guess that would make sense. I just don't know why they don't have that, but I don't think anybody would just want to give a scholarship to every single player, but maybe they would. But we have 25 players on our list, so hopefully the scholarship helps with some generic interest. And then obviously next week is where we're going to start to put a lot of hours into the main guys we want, which is probably going to be at least 1 in each position, I would hope. Hopefully we have enough hours that week. But it's kind of weird that they give you 375 hours this week when you technically can't use 375 hours. Like, you could only use the 5 hours per player. Like, I wish I could already start, like, doing some work on these players, but I guess I can't. So, we can only use the maximum pretty much of... Actually, maybe we could use up to most of 375. I don't even know. I've never had a full target list, so... Okay, so those guys have been all offered scholarships, so that's all we can pretty much do this week. That's all good and set up. And I think we're ready to advance to the start of the season, so let's go do that. We have no games this week, of course, but hoping that this team gets off to a good start this year. Like I said, we are technically better than we were last year on paper, and apparently we already got locked out by 2 guys, which is not what I was expecting. But there was not really much time for me to even put anything into them, so that kind of sucks. One's a defensive tackle, one's that strong safety. Damn, that was the only 3-star strong safety. Well, looks like we're not getting a 3-star strong safety this year, but that's okay. And it looks like we have a bye week here at the beginning, of course, as per usual. So let's go back to this prospect list. Actually, go back to the bottom of this list because Dejiri's locked us out. So we need a strong safety, which we already have as 2-star one. We'll keep him there. And then we probably want another 3-star defensive tackle to look at as well with Jennings. So let's do that while we're at it. So that way we have at least a couple 3-stars still on our list for that position. Carver, playing time, sure, we'll add you. Okay. And then Carver, I guess I have to send him a scholarship offer too while we're at it, just to get some interest on him a bit. All right, so 295 hours. So for quarterbacks, we're gonna send a house on one of these guys, I guess. What's the areas that need the most? The areas of need that we need the most. Let's go back here. Like, let's see. So it was cornerback definitely needs 1. Outside linebacker for sure. I don't think I'm gonna be able to send a 50 bomber on a lot of people, but trying to think. Yeah, definitely cornerback and outside linebacker are ones for sure. So cornerback needs 7. So we will send a 50 on you. And outside linebacker, where is the OLB? Outside linebackers are the mics, right? I think. Let me just go back to this. I just double check on this just because I don't remember if I'm remembering this correctly. If I go back to outside linebacker, yeah, it's the Wills and the Sams. Okay. Just because that's hard for me to remember when it changes that. So let's drop some on this guy as well. Harris says 250 bombers. So a cornerback and an outside linebacker. Let's see. Another 50 bomber. Let's do one on the quarterback. Yeah, one on the quarterback just because of Jennings potentially leaving. And the edge rusher, the wide receiver, and the tackle? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, quarterback, wide receiver, tackle, and edge rusher. Quarterback, let's do one of you guys. Get a 50. I don't even know if I can put 50 on all these ones I'm mismentioning. Halfback is out of 6. Let's go to halfback. Let's do this guy. And then the other ones are out of 4. I guess we have only 95 hours, so let's kind of spread out the hours a bit on these other dudes. Like, let's maybe do a 10 on a couple people as well, just to kind of get some interest here. Because, like I said, we need to kind of widely get a lot of people interested, not just put it all in one basket, so to speak. But obviously, we want to get a lot of interest off the hop, too. So, let's do that. And let's give one guy 25 hours since we have 25 hours left. Let's go for the edge rusher with that one. Boom. Okay, so we have all of our hours spent. Not sure if I'm doing this good or not, but I'm hoping that we're obviously going to get a lot of interest on those guys we dropped 50 on. If not, obviously we might have to drop out some of those races eventually, but hoping for some good general interest as we start up the year. So that is all set up and ready to go. Let's simulate to our first week of the actual season itself and see who we're playing in the first week, and then hopefully we made some good stuff with players. And apparently we already got locked out by a lot of people. God damn. That's actually kind of insane that we get locked out that fast. It is what it is, though. But I'm hoping more for a good season rather than a good recruiting season fully. But yeah, that one quarterback locked us out. So the one guy that we didn't put any hours into, Jennings is a defensive tackle, is also locked us out. Same goes with Madden and Gillikin. So that's that strong safety. That was 2 stars. Damn, man. A lot of people are looking into these strong safeties early on, apparently. That's unfortunate. So, so strong safety, linebacker, and then defensive tackle and quarterback. All right. The good thing is, I think, Kaczewski was a JUCO, if I remember right, so he might not even be that crazy anyways. But it's kind of crazy how fast some of these guys just decide to lock us out after 1 week. So we'll take them all off our list here. That will give us some hours back at least, potentially. Defensive tackle, outside linebacker, and strong safety. Yeah, we have 15 hours already, so we might as well put it into some of these other dudes a little bit. Like, let's add 5 hours onto a couple guys. Maybe? Maybe not. Maybe I could. Trying to see here. Let's add, yeah, some hours into these dudes. So let's do a 10er on this guy. And let's go down here and just do a 5er on somebody else. I don't know. But looks like off the hop, at least, we are getting some interest from that quarterback in short, who is currently got us in number 8, but it's a pretty tight race. And then Duggins, we are currently number 4 on. So hopefully we're making some good calls early. Harris, who we dropped 50 on, we're number 2 on. So the guys that we drop 50 on are always getting interest off the hop, which is good. But obviously we need interest from some of those other guys as well. Okay. So our first game of the season up against Temple. And Temple is pretty bad compared to us in overall ratings. But will that matter? Honestly, no idea at this stage. Last year we were one of the worst teams in our league despite having one of the best overall ratings. So not too sure what to expect, but they're 64s across the board. We're in 80 overall with 81 offense and 79 defense. As long as we stay healthy, we should have hopefully a better season this year. So, wow, they have a 91 overall player, though. That's actually kind of insane. Braxton Reeves, 91 overall edge rusher. That is playing on a team that's all 64. So they actually do have a star, but they don't have the craziest team, it looks like, around him. All right, well, let's see if we could find a way to beat them in week 1 of the season. Get off to a good start. Last year we were, I think, 3-1 at one point, and then we fell apart. So how will our team do in week 1 of the 2031 season? Can we find a victory against Temple? It looks like we're getting locked out by more people, but we also have people reaching their top 8 schools, so that's good. We did win the first game. That's good to see. 1,500 XP. We are 1-0 to start the year. And our championship contender obviously going up because of that win. So that's good to see that we actually won the first game of the year. But Bly has already locked us out, so that's another cornerback, and Carver as a defensive tackle. So, yeah, I don't know how easy it's going to be for us to lock people in, but I'm hoping that we continue to build up on some of these guys for the rest of the season. We could probably get rid of the 50 hours spent on some of these guys eventually and knock it down to like a 25 instead, but just needed to make sure we get general interest off the hop. All right, so our first game of the season, we saw that we won. We do have a game coming up against FCS East, which is also a pretty bad team compared to us. So once again, this should be a game we win. Jeff Jennings is apparently the impact player for this game as our quarterback, which is good. So let's go back to scores and schedules, see how that first game of the season went for our team, because we saw that we won, but was it convincing? The answer is no, it wasn't convincing. So once again, looking at overall ratings, I don't think matters that much. It just depends maybe on the players on the roster or something like that. But we won that one by a field goal. It looks like 38-35. In terms of the player stats in that game, Jennings threw 325 yards. Solid game again from Jennings. Like I said, this might be his last season if I'm not mistaken. In terms of rushing yards, Duckett had 61, so a good game from Duckett in that sense. Receiving yards, Christmas had 90. That's pretty good considering that's his first game, I think, too. And yeah, everybody else doesn't really matter. Scroggins had 10 tackles. Damn. Okay. We should be a good team. We should be a good team as long as we find ways to play better defensively than we did last year. And so far, that first game, I'm a little bit worried that we might still give up a decent amount in terms of points. But yeah, we have a pretty big lead on short right now, so I probably could reduce this in terms of hours spent now. Obviously, we're going to still spend 25, but at least we knock it down in half. I just don't want to have 50 hours spent on some guys for the entire season. So we're going to knock those down to 25. Probably same goes with this guy. Cox has us at third, though, so maybe we'll keep him actually. Actually, we need to add probably 25 to him. That's how we could get him up there. Let's make him a 50 bomber instead of the other guys. And then Harris, we have at number 1 as well, currently by a decent margin, so we'll knock him down to a 25er as well. And that will give us 50 hours more. Ahmad, we're currently number 1 by not a lot. So that's a little bit of a risky one, dropping his 50 off. But let's do a 10er and a 25er. So we save some hours. Let's take Bly off of our list. And same with Carver. And now we have 65 hours, so we could probably put a lot more into some of these guys that have 10 hours spent on them. Or even the guys that we haven't put any hours into yet. So let's do a 10er on 6 more people, just to get more interest if possible. Because I think it's important that we get good interest on a lot of these dudes. So 25 hours still left. Let's get 10 more on Bert as well. And that gives us 15 hours left, which means we can put 5 hours on a couple people. But also, we might as well remove the 5 on Hicks and give him a 10er, which leaves us 10 hours exactly left. Might as well look into another player in an area of need, right? Might as well. Let's go back to strong safety, because I feel like that's still an area for sure of need, and there was no 3 stars that would actually come to us apparently, so we got to go to 2 stars. But is it worth even putting hours into one of them? I'm not sure. Hannah, playing style. Odin was playing time. Sure, let's just go to Odin. I know he's only a 2-star recruit, but we might as well put some hours into him. So we'll offer him a scholarship, and we'll search his social media. So there's a little bit of interest potentially generating from a safety. All right, so that is all good and ready to go. Now we have our second game of the season, and we'll see if our team could go 2-0 to start the year. If we get off to a really good start, hopefully our team doesn't look back. Last year, like I said, we got off to a bad start. Or actually, we started good and then fell apart. So I'm hoping that it's not going to happen like that this year. Was there any injuries in week 1? I'm hoping not. There was an injury, and it was a foot fracture. It's only for 3 weeks, though, but it is to the youngster in Kirkus. I think he's a youngster. Maybe not. He's a sophomore, looks like. But, yeah, Kirkus is already out with a foot fracture. Seems like there's injuries every single week almost, but let's hope that they're none to our crazy good players. So, second game of the season against FCS East. We'll see if we could go 2-0 to start off this year, because maybe this team could actually start winning compared to last season. Cox has reached his top 8 schools. Faro has locked us out, unfortunately. And we did win because we gained 1200 XP. Love to see that. So 2-0 to start the season. Championship contender going up, of course, as it should. And yeah, like I said, Faro has locked us out. So I don't know. We probably would only put 10 hours into him, so it kind of makes sense in a way. But it's nice to see us start off the season on a good start to the year. Let's see what we got to say. Okay, so looks like some people were getting some more interested, which is nice to see. But like I said, Faro locked us out, so we have 15 more hours again, which means we should probably start putting some more hours into a couple of the tenors. So let's add an additional 5 to a couple dudes, not to everybody, but a couple dudes. And then that will hopefully help us with landing these type of players as well. So we'll do that. And that's good for hours spent. Again, we have 18 of 35. We could look into some new players if we really wanted to, but might as well keep it like that for the time being. How did our second game of the season go? It should have been a blowout, I would hope. Usually it is when we play FCSE, so I'm hoping it was. And that was the case in this one again. 37-7, so that's a much better defensive effort and solid offensive effort again. Let's go to some stats here. So Jennings threw 284 yards, not as crazy of a game for him this time around. Rushing yards, over 100 yards for Duckett of rushing. That's pretty good. Receiving yards, 106 from Darren Amerson. So looks like a couple of the other guys that I wasn't expecting are having good games. Carter had 98 yards, so he did well as well. All right, so there's that. All right, so 2-0 to start off the year. You'll love to see it. Like I said, I hope that it continues as we go on. Let's go back to injury report again, though. We might as well check this weekly. Still only Kirkus injured. Okay, good. All right, so we're pretty healthy still early in the season. We're 2-0 going into this week 3 game against the Yukon Huskies. So this is probably going to be a loss because I'm pretty sure they're a higher-end team, right? Never mind, they're not actually a higher-end team. I guess that's only their basketball team that was good or something, but they have a 71 rated offense, 69 overall total, but a 66 defense. We should be able to beat them, but then again, we have lost to some other teams before. They do have an 85 overall halfback by the name of Sam Liu, so they do have probably some good players on there. Probably going to be our toughest match of the season yet for sure, though. All right, so let's advance to next week and see if this team could go 3-0. If we could go 3-0, maybe this team actually could have a rebound year. Let's see how we do against the 1-1 Yukon Huskies, who are not, I think, in our conference. They're in a different conference, so it's an interconference game. Looks like somebody else locked us out, and it's again that strong safety. That's a 2-star, so we're getting locked out every time, and we did win that game. We have leveled up to level 27, I think it said, and we are 3-0 to start off the year. All right, this team's actually finding ways to win despite losing guys like Robert Thomas and all that. That's really good to see, as our championship contenders up to C- now. If we go to recruiting update, though, like I said, that strong safety locked us out already, so we are having no luck with these strong safeties right now, which is kind of weird. Harris has reached his top 8 schools. We're currently number 1, and same goes with Mr. Fitu Fong. All right, let's see. And look at this. MAC Offensive Player of the Week for Week 3 against Yukon. 10 receives, or whatever you want to call it, receptions, I guess, technically, maybe. 160 yards and 2 touchdowns for JoJo Carter. So, JoJo Carter getting the Player of the Week. Love to see that. Considering the last few years, obviously, it's been the other guys that we had on wide receiver, but JoJo Carter is definitely one of the best of the bunch we have. And, well, that's going to be definitely a game we lose. We have another interconference game because it's the number 1 seeded Ohio State Buckeyes that we have to play, and they're 99s across the board. We're going to absolutely get slapped in this game. I don't know why they give you a game against a really good team like this. Like, there's no chance that we're going to beat them, but the fact that we're at least up to an 80 is impressive, considering I remember when we were like 60s across the board, so we should do better than we would have at least in their first year, but this is still a very, very good team, and that's insane that they have to put us against them. But Let's take a look at how last week's game went from a schedule standpoint, or score standpoint, I should say. Let's see. So that game was a pretty close one again, so kind of similar to the first game of the year, 27-24, so not necessarily the craziest effort, but we're still winning these close games at least, not like last year where we were losing some. So I'll take that. I actually meant to look at the player stats in that game, so let's go do that. So let's take a look, just because I'm curious if anybody had a bad game or anybody had a really great game or something like that. I would assume it's mostly Jennings again. Yeah, over 50%, 328 yards thrown, rushing yards, only 25 this time from Duckett. And then in terms of receiving yards, we had 113 from Dora, 106 from Carter. Nice. So both those guys were really good. Kind of surprised that Kiri Dora is actually doing that well. So even these kind of lower end 72 overall guys could actually help us out. So that's nice to see. Let's double check the injury report again. And then we'll take a look at some recruits again, and then we'll obviously see if we could actually put up any points against Ohio. I feel like we might not even put up a single point against them, but tough to say. Injury report. Did we lose anybody? No. Still Kirkus is the only one injured. Good. That is good. All right, recruiting. So we got some more hours again because of that strong safety locking us out, so we'll take him off our list again. All right, so any good updates with these guys? Looks like we're still leading on majority of these guys. Fong probably needs some more hours spent into him, so we are going to probably... I can't really do much unless I remove hours from somebody, I guess. Yeah, that's the only thing. I mean, I can technically maybe remove some hours on some of these dudes. I'm just trying to see. This guy has only the 10 hours spent on him, and he's already number 1, but not by much. Most of these other guys were not anywhere close yet. Is there anybody that's close to locking us out, maybe, that I could remove hours from? Not really. I guess I could only find a way to get somebody else 5 more hours, because we already have that. Because if I remove 5 hours... I could remove 5 hours on a random dude that I'm leading on, like Harris. Yeah, let's remove 5 hours on Harris just for this time being. And then we're going to remove this and try and get a little bit better on Fong. Just because Fong is in a little bit of a tight race right now. Everybody else is pretty fine for now. So, looking good on that department. And like I said, this game is definitely going to be a loss. But the question is by how bad. Yeah, so we will be 3-1 probably at the end of this game. It's kind of weird, though, that games that are not in your conference or games that are against top teams like this actually count towards your season, in my opinion. But Ohio State is 2-0. Let's see if we could actually put up any points against them. Like I said, this is definitely a guaranteed loss, but we should at least hope that our team could get at least maybe a touchdown against them or something like that. All right, looks like we're number 1 on a lot of people's lists as we're reaching our top 5s and top 8s, and we gained 210 XP, so that definitely means a loss. 3-1, nothing dropping off, because obviously that's just a game against a team that is obviously insane. But yeah, Short and all these guys have us as number 1. 4 of them have reached their top 5, and then these 2 reached their top 8. So that's good. We might be able to get a decent amount of good recruits this season, because we're not trying to focus on those 4 stars. And a career record has been broken. Jennings has now set the Akron career passing yards record, so not really a surprise. So shout out to Jeff Jennings. He's been here for a while at this point. Like I said, this might be his last season with our team, but he is an absolutely awesome quarterback, despite not being an 80+. Like, he's probably not even going to get drafted into the NFL, my guess. But anyways, let's take a look at how bad that game went, because we know for a fact that we probably got destroyed. But I'm kind of curious if we even put up a fight at all. Let's see what we got here. Mac. And 37-19. I mean, I think I'll take that. I'll take that. Giving up only 37 points, I feel like is decent. And then scoring 19 against Ohio, I think that's good, considering they're the number 1 seeded team in the entire league, I think. So I'll definitely take that. And in player stats, Jennings threw 326 yards, 48% completion, so not terrible. Duckett only had 9 rushing yards. Yeah, I don't expect our offense to be super good rushing-wise. Receiving yards, though, we did get 110 from Dora and 90 from Amerson. Carter only had 46, so Dora's been actually not that bad here early on. Okay. So that's good. Yeah, I think that's definitely an effort that I could appreciate, against a good team like that. All right, let's go to recruiting here. We have all our hours spent apparently already. Just trying to double check on the lead here. We could already start inviting people to visit, but is it something we absolutely need to do? Probably not. I don't know. But yeah, we're currently leading on like a bunch of people, which is good. Some of them are not by a huge margin. Like we probably need to start spending some more hours on some dudes. Like I probably could reduce hours spent on Fong now a little bit because we have a bigger lead. So we could go back to like just a 10. They give us 15 more hours. That way, in these tighter races like Bigsby, actually not Bigsby. Who was the other one that had a close race? Oh, it was Bert. We could spend 5 more hours onto Bert and 5 more hours on a couple other dudes as well if they're close races. That way we can maybe edge teams out a little bit. This one we're not even winning in, so we probably want to spend a little bit more hours on that. And same goes with Guzman. Yeah. So we might as well put 5 hours into him too. Cox, we still have 50 hours spent on him. So definitely we could remove the 50 at this point on him. We can knock this down to probably, I'd like to say a 10 and a 5 as well. And then that will give us 35 more hours to spend on some other people. So let's add 5 hours into some other dudes. So they're all the way up to 15. I think we're doing a decent job this year in terms of how we're taking the scouting approach or whatever. Because obviously the last few years, we've put a lot of hours into 4-star guys and then it just never worked out. So I think it's important that we put hours into these, these 3-star guys instead. Just because we know we could actually get them. Eventually we could start looking at 4-stars, but this team's not good enough still to reach a 4-star recruit probably. All right, our next game is up against North Illinois, who's currently 0-3, so we should be able to beat them based on that. But they are a decent-ish school. Offense is a 71, defense is a 64, overall is a 68. So we had a close game with a team that was like this. So I don't expect this to be a cakewalk, but I'm hoping our team could obviously go 4-0. Impact player is Dora, who has been really good as of late. Interesting. Let's actually go to our conference standings briefly here too while we look at that. We did see the record about Jennings already, which we'll go to that for a second here. Let's go back to the MAC. Actually, not to the MAC, to the Akron, I should just say. But yeah, Jeff Jennings has been an awesome player. A lot of good stuff. You can still see Robert Thomas's stats there from before as well, because he did beat out Griffin in his last season, I guess, in terms of receiving yards and all that. But yeah, Jeff Jennings is our GOAT. But I wanted to go to the standings here briefly. Actually, not team schedule, god damn it. Let's see, standings, which is right here. How are we looking right now? We are one of the best teams in our conference right now, but obviously still tight ass race. But looks like we're doing one of the best offenses so far, points for. We are still allowing maybe a bit more points than I was expecting. Looks like UMass is a weird team though, because they don't score a lot and they've not given up a lot. Alright, well, still a lot of season left to go. We don't really need to worry on that just yet. Alright, but 3-1 against a 0-3 team. We should be able to win this game, but obviously this is the part of the season where last year our team started to fall off a bit. We started off the year good and then fell off and lost 4 games in a row. So let's see what happens. Actually, did we lose anybody against Ohio due to injury? Because that's a tough team. Let's see. And no, we did not. So we're actually back to full health again. That's great. That is great. Just got to stay healthy. Just got to stay healthy. Let's see how we do against North Illinois. Give me a win here, boys. Make me 4-1. Make me 4-1. Let's see. Top 5 schools, top 8 schools. We're leading on those guys. Good to see that. And we did win. We did win. 1,300 XP. So our team is now 4-1. So we are definitely having a rebound year so far, which I love to see. And then if we go to recruiting updates, like I said, we are leading on these guys. Duggins has reached top 5, and then Bigsby and Cloud have reached in their top 8. So far, things are looking good. Things are looking good. And Channing Scroggins was the defensive player of the week. Nice. We don't really get defensive players of the week as much as offensive, I feel like. But 2 interceptions, 7 tackles, and whatever the heck the defensive rating thing is. But a good game from Scroggins as our free safety. Let's go. Okay, so 4-1 record. Let's go. Okay, so maybe this team's actually going to find itself having a much better year this year, which is surprising because imagine if we still had guys like Thomas and all that. I feel like we'd be even better maybe, but maybe not. Let's go and see how that game went. See how that game went. Because obviously it's another team that we could have lost to potentially, but also we should have been able to beat easily. 27-20. So yeah, another close game, but we do win by a touchdown. Player stats in that game, Jennings threw 45%. He might have gotten injured. Yeah, he did get injured. God damn it. Because I do see that injury indication thing on the side. Because Kennedy also came in and threw 99 point, or not threw 99.9, came in and played the rest, threw 163 yards. So Jennings might have gotten sacked. No, it doesn't seem he got sacked. I wonder how he got injured. If he went to throw it and just like tore his arm or something. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. I mean, Kennedy might be decent still, but he's definitely a lot lower end. But Jennings literally broke our record, and then he was throwing so much, I guess, that he hurt himself. Rushing, Duckett had 52. Receiving, Amerson had 67. But looks like Jennings did have some rushing yards, so I'm guessing maybe that's how he got hurt. As he kind of scrambled out, went for the first down, and maybe got hurt. Something like that. That's unfortunate, man. That's definitely not what you want to see at this point. I'm really hoping it's a short-term injury because if we're losing him for the rest of the season, this team could go from 4-1 to really not that good. And that's why we need more quarterback prospects. So hopefully we can find that. Obviously, I don't even know if we have a depth quarterback now behind this current quarterback. So I don't even know how that's going to work. If we go to view roster here. And if we go to our quarterbacks, we'll take a look at Jennings' injury here shortly. But yeah, we don't have anybody else behind Kennedy. We don't have anybody else behind Kennedy. So I don't know what happens if he gets hurt. Like, who the heck's going to be throwing the ball? That's not good. That is not good whatsoever. All right, let's take a look at how the last game... Actually, we already just took a look at how the last game went. I didn't take a look at... What was it? Oh, yeah, the conference standings update here. Because we do have a bye week, I think it said. Which will help for the injury recovery. But we are now the second best team. We're up there with Eastern Michigan. Maybe we're going to have to face Eastern Michigan again in the finals. But so far, our offense is the best right now. And our defensive play is still a little bit questionable. But we have a good record, so I'll definitely take it. All right, let's take a look at how that injury is for Jennings. Hopefully it's a short-term injury, because if it's anything longer than like a couple weeks, that could really hurt our season. Let's see. And 5 weeks. This first week at least is a bye week, I think. So 4 weeks. He will be back for the playoffs potentially, but obviously a lot of pressure on our younger quarterback in Kennedy. So he broke his hand. So it wasn't via throwing, because he didn't get actually, yeah, he didn't get sacked, so it had to be not when he was throwing. He was probably scrambling, and maybe that's how it hurt. I don't even know. But that's a really big loss. Really big loss. God damn, man. That's not what I wanted to see in this part of the episode. Alright, so now that we've seen the injury, like I said, this bye week at least will help him in terms of getting healthy. Let's take an updated look at the recruits. We still have all our hours spent. We're still leading on, I think, a majority of these guys, which is great. Yeah, we're leading on literally every player so far we put hours into, except for Blizzard, who has... apparently we're not reaching his deal breaker. I don't know what it is. Playing style has changed. We'll just take him off the list, I guess. Sure. That'll give us 15 more hours, too. So we could start to put 5 more hours into Fung. We have 10 more hours to spend on another prospect. So let's go back to centers, because we do need still center. We also do need a mic, apparently, too. So maybe we'll actually look at some of these other positions instead for center. So let's go to 3-star mics and see if there's anybody we could throw our name into the hat for. Playing time, Darren Stewart, sure. We should be able to get him playing time. So let's just give him a 10 hours, or 5 and a 5, and get some general interest on him. There you go. But yeah, so far we're doing pretty good, I think, in terms of the recruiting, in terms of leading all those guys. So let's advance to next week since we have no games. And like I said, hopefully Jennings' recovery goes well. And hopefully he will come back and our team will still have a good record. Because obviously if we don't, that could hurt us a lot. All right, so in terms of championship contender, we jumped up to a C. We are still obviously 4-1 because there was no games that week, but Bert has reached his top 8 schools. Same goes with Below, Hirschberger, and also Hicks. So yeah, 4-1, and now we have a game this week against Central Michigan for Week 7. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they might be one of the better teams, if I remember right. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at this. Actually, never mind. They're pretty damn bad. 57 overall, 59 offense, 56 defense. So this is probably a game we should be able to win, but also, who knows without Jennings how this team will do. But let's head on over to the recruiting stage part again and take an updated look at these guys. Like I said, we're probably leading on all of them still, which means we don't really need to worry about moving out around hours. We do have 5 more hours now, though, which we could put directly into Stewart. So let's go give Stewart a tenner, and all our hours are spent. That looks good. I think we're doing a pretty good job this year so far, considering we have a good chance to land a lot of these guys. At least we're getting more volume into our team rather than trying to go for a 4-star that we might end up losing by like a week. So maybe next season we'll start to go through more 4-stars if we have a strong roster, but maybe we'll always be kind of locked to 3 stars. Okay, so how is Central Michigan this season, actually, out of curiosity? Because I am kind of curious on the team we're going up against. Like, I know they don't have the greatest stats, but are they actually a good team? Conference standings, probably not, right? Actually, no, they are 3-2. They aren't very far off of us. They actually have scored more points for per game than us, but they've also given up more, so will be interested to see if we win this game. This could be a loss, but it also could be a win that we change to 5-1. Now, we are only 1-0 against the conference, so obviously our conference record matters a lot. So this is another big game for this team. And like I said, without Jennings, I am kind of scared relying on a young quarterback like Kennedy, who hasn't played a lot. But Jennings, hopefully, like I said, hopefully he gets back in healthy, and this team is still above 500. So let's go through this game. I think we'll probably go maybe through a couple more games after this. Like, maybe we could get a good chunk of the season done, because this episode's only like around 40-something minutes right now. So might as well keep on going, and we'll see if we can beat Central Michigan. Like I said, not too sure what to expect from this game, but I think we could win it. So Fong's reached his top 5, same with Freeman, and then Guzman has reached his top 8. And we did win that game. This team is definitely rebounding, so it's good to see Kennedy getting a win in his first game of the year. At least he should be happy with playing time, because of the fact that obviously he's going to be starting for a couple games this season. But yeah, 5-1 now on the year is great to see. And those are good updates as well on the recruiting stage. Let's go. All right. And it is good. So 5-1, 2-0 versus the conference. And our next game is against 1-5 Bowling Green. So Bowling Green, I think, beat us last year. But they have definitely fallen off, just like we fell off last year. So let's see how that game went last week, because I'm kind of curious on how good the quarterback did, of course, because that's obviously a big game for him to play in. And it looks like Kennedy hopefully played well. 27-21. It is a close game again, but it's a win, and I will definitely take it. Let's take a look at some stats here. So Kennedy threw 411 yards. That's actually really a lot of yards. So that's a really good game for Kennedy in terms of the yardage. Completion rate was a bit below 50%, but looks like he definitely threw for a lot of yards. Rushing yards, 24 only from Duckett, so he didn't really have a rushing game. And in receiving, 170 from Kirkus. So Kirkus is recently back from his injury, and he had a really good game too. Carter had 140 yards, so those guys did majority of the legwork for us offensively. Kirkus did have 2 touchdowns, and Carter had 1. Dora did pick up 1, despite only having 14 receiving yards. All right. Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Love to see it. Okay, so at least it seems like our backup quarterback option can win us games as well. We did already look at the recruiting stuff, I think, right? Just got to double check on this. Yeah, I think we're good on this stage, because we're literally leading on every single player right now. So I think I'm doing a much better job this year in terms of just getting a lot of value to our team, especially if we lose people. All right, so that's good. I think we're ready to get into this next game, which is, like I said, against Bowling Green, who are 1-5. They're 66s across the board, so they are pretty average of a team. We should be able to beat them, but honestly, who knows? Kirkus is the impact player based on how he was last game, I guess. And yeah, currently we are seeding third in the conference, but we are definitely a team that could be the number 1 seed. As you can see, Toledo's there and UMass as well. Kind of surprised UMass is doing that well, but let's get to this next game, see if we could go to 6-1, and obviously how Kennedy will do. Or not Kennedy, what's his friggin' name? Kennedy was our original quarterback. What am I saying? I think, man, I'm literally losing my mind with this roster sometimes, but how our other quarterback in... Oh, no, it is Kennedy. Never mind. I was thinking Jennings was Kennedy, and I was confused for some reason. But anyways, how Kennedy could do in this game. Considering Jennings will be back within 3 weeks, I think, at this point. Let's double check on that as well. Yeah, he'll be back in 3 weeks. So at least, like, it's not like a season-ending injury, but it's definitely still sucks to not have him in the lineup. But it will give our time to Kennedy, so... Can we go 6-1, and can we beat 1-5 Bowling Green? We should be able to, but this game could obviously give us a loss occasionally as well. Let's see how we do. Harris has reached his top 5 schools. Love to see that. Let's see what we got. We did win. We are definitely a lot better than last year at this point. 6-1. And our only loss of the year came to the Ohio State Buckeyes. So... this team is on an absolute tear, and I'm really hoping that continues as we go through the rest of the season. But this is looking like a good year. Looking like a good year. And like I said, I'm kind of surprised we're this good. But now we have a bye week coming up. So once again, this will definitely work in the favor of Jennings. Because now he's 2 weeks away from being back. This bye week will make it 1 week away, and then he'll be back again. So we're almost back to full health again, which is great. All right, let's take a look at how that game went against Bowling Green. See how we played against them. Hopefully it was a good score line. And it was a 41-39 game. We've had a lot of close games, so technically our record probably could be a lot worse. But our offense is playing really good this season, I think. So that's probably the difference right now, because we're not still that great of a defensive team. Kennedy threw 253 yards. So not as crazy this game. He was actually not that good. 39% completion rate, so probably not great to still have Kennedy in, but obviously we're waiting for Jennings to return. Rushing yard-wise, Duckett had 58, and in receiving yards, 73 from Amerson. Yeah, we didn't really have that crazy of an offense, so I wonder if we just had a lot of good kicks or something like that. 4 field goal attempts for Lacouture, and he hit all of them, or what? No, field goal percentage 75. He was 3 for 4. Okay. So that's kind of interesting. So 12 of our points, I guess, came from kicks. So it was a close one, but we do win. All right. So this bye week, like I said, is good for our team. Any players that we fell to second on, or are we still leading on everybody? Like, maybe I don't even need to worry about adjusting the hours at all. That's somewhat of a close race. Somewhat. Oh, okay, so Darren Stewart, we still haven't jumped up at all on. Yeah, maybe we could start reducing some hours on some dudes. Ahmad is actually kind of a close race right now, so maybe we should probably keep Ahmad like that. That's a close race. Some of these guys we have a long shot on, so I could probably remove 5 from guys like Hirschberger and move them over instead to Stewart. So we'll do that. I could probably look into more recruits, but I think I'm going to keep it like this right now. Since we're leading on everybody, we might as well just keep it like that. All right, 6-1. 6-1 as we have our bye week, so we might as well advance through this already, just because there's no games. But, yeah, we are very close to being back to full health again, which is nice. Grubbs has reached his top 5. We're still leading on him. Yeah, I think we're in line to probably land a lot of recruits this year, if we continue like this. And also, our team is up to B- championship contender. And we're now 81s across the board, so something has grown for sure on the defensive end, I think it was. Or maybe it was the offensive end, but we are in a prime position potentially to obviously make it back to the championship game this year. which is surprising based on how last year went. But we have a game against 0-7 Ohio next. We should be able to win that game for sure. Based on rating, yeah, we should be able to easily beat them. We're an 81 overall team across the board. They're a 56 across the board. Scroggins is up to a 77 apparently. And yeah, we're number 1 in the MAC right now. All right, I think we'll go through maybe just one more game just because that way Jennings will be healthy. But yeah, I think we'll just do this one more game. One more game. Yeah, we'll probably do that. Let's take a look at the recruiting update here briefly again. See if we need to rework any hours spent, which I think right now is fine. That's a tight-ass race, but can I get 5 hours from somebody else off of this? This is a couple of these are a little bit of tight races, so maybe we need to start removing some hours on some dudes. Like this guy's got a huge lead, so we don't need to worry about him as much, so we could probably reduce this down. I probably still want 5 hours into him, so let's do 5. But there was some really tight races that we just saw. Who was the tightest race? I think it was the one that we were looking at here for Cloud. So we need to get rid of 5 hours somewhere else. Actually, no, we don't. We can remove these hours and give him a 25er just because he's in a close race. So we'll do 25 for Cloud just because he's close on some people. But that looks good. And I think we are good to simulate. Let me take a look at that injury update again on Jennings. Like I said, I think he's back next week. Yeah, he's back next week. So team's still winning games, and we're going to be probably healthy next week. So let's see how we do against Ohio. We should be able to beat them. If we beat them here, we're very close to probably guaranteeing ourselves in the playoffs. I think we're almost guaranteeing ourselves regardless, but obviously there's still other teams that could pass us potentially. So how are we going to do against the Bobcats? Can we find a way to go 7-1? After last year, we had such a bad season. Let's see. 7-1, please. Let's see what we got here. We're second on some people's list now, so we got to update that a little bit, looks like. And we did win again. Let's freaking go. It's good to see this team responding to last year's mistakes. 7-1 with a 4-0 conference record. And yeah, Harris now has us as number 2. So, and he's in his top 3 schools. So we need to put a lot of hours into Harris in his last little bit. And in Stewart, we fell to second as well. So Harris, actually, no, maybe not. We didn't fall to second. Maybe we were up there. But anyways, offensive player of the week going to Mr. Josh Duckett. Kind of surprised on that. 25 carries, 79 yards, and 3 yards per carry, I think that means. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it means, I would assume. So that's good to see from Mr. Duckett. Duckett also was the National Offensive Player of the Week. What the hell? National Offensive Players. That means in the entire country or what? I think so. 25 carries, 79 yards, 3 yards per carry. We saw that. But yeah, I think he was the best player in the entire in the entire United States. Is that what that means? That's kind of insane. I don't think we've ever had a player have that. So anyways, let's go back to recruiting for a second here so we can adjust those guys we fell to second on, which we saw was Harris. Well, no, it wasn't Harris. Who was it? Or do we have 2 Harrises on our list? Maybe it's the other Harris, if there's another one. Yeah, it was 2 Harrises. That was confusing. But looks like they have a visit coming up for this guy, so this might be still a hard one to win. But let's take 25 off him, and we need to find a way to get more hours onto him, which means I'm going to take some hours off some other dudes. Like, Ahmad's actually still a very tight race. I could remove Ahmad, but it's tight as hell. Freeman, we could definitely remove some hours on. So we'll do that, because I need to get 50 hours back so I could try and compete with that top school. And we are number 2 on Cox's list as well, so we probably need maybe some more hours spent on him. Guzman, we're leading on by a good amount as well, so let's remove 10 on him. And Hirschberger, we're leading by a lot as well, so we might as well knock this down to a 5 on him. And we'll go back down to Harris. And we will throw in a big giant 50 bomb on him. I do want to kind of get Cox still. So maybe I could find a way to reduce some hours on some of these other dudes. Let's take 10 off below. How close are we on some of these other teams? That's close on Cloud. Somewhat close on Bigsby, but not by an insane amount. So I could probably reduce at least 5 hours on him. Grubbs, we are still leading by a good amount, but Ohio State's behind us. So probably want to keep a lot of hours on him. Bert, we're going to have to take probably a 10er from you. You should be fine. This other Harris, we're leading by a good amount. We're going to take a 10er away from you too. Fong, how close is your race? Not very close. So we can remove 10 from him too. And then these top two guys that have 25 hours spent. Oh yeah, we're leading by a lot. So we could easily knock this down to a 10 and a 5. And maybe even Javon Short. Oh yeah, we're leading on Short by a long shot too. So let's reduce some of these hours on these top end guys. And then we'll go to those tighter races. Now we have 65 hours, but we have to put 50 bomber on this guy to try and win him back. So let's remove some hours on him and give him 50 instead. And then that will leave us with 30 hours left, which we could easily put 30 hours back into some of these other guys. So let's do 10. Should I give them 10s? Yeah, let's give them 10s. Why not? Just to try and help out with them a little bit still. And now we have 0 hours. So there's a couple guys with 5 hours only spent, but it's nothing crazy. We are still number 2 on Stewart's list, but we could definitely still win him with 15 hours maybe spent. I definitely could throw more hours on him, but we'll keep it like that. All right. So that's all good and ready to go. Let's go through this last game of this episode, I think. Because like I said, Jennings should be back after this game. Let me just go that again. Just in case I made a mistake. No, oh wait, he's back this week it was. Right. So we don't even need to simulate anymore. Or do I want to simulate Jennings' first game back is the question. We're 7-1. We're playing 4-4 Buffalo. So Buffalo's a good team, but they have definitely not had as good of a season this year. They're definitely our strongest competition we've played yet. 74 defense, 71 overall, 69 offense. But, do I want to do one more game? I think just based on length of this episode, probably not. So, yeah, let's do one last thing, which is taking a look at the conference standings, and then I think that'll be it for this episode. We are definitely in a prime position to win the conference. 7-1, Miami's 5-3. We're 4-0 versus the conference. 265 right now has us as a top 2 offensive team. Buffalo actually has one more point for than us, and we're playing against them, so that's going to be interesting to see if we continue our winning trend. Points allowed per game, we're actually very good defensively, too. So, looking good in a lot of ways. And then we have won 4 in a row. That's much, much better. So, yeah, I think we'll probably end it at this point. Even though I would like to maybe get the rest of the season done, but there's still a decent chunk of weeks left. If we actually look at our team schedule ahead for next episode as well, you can see after these games that we've already played, we obviously have Buffalo, which is going to be the first game of next episode. We also have Kent State, who is currently also 500. Miami, who's 5-3, so that's a bit of a tougher matchup. And then Western Michigan, who's 4-4. And then we have 2 bye weeks up into the conference championship. So, yeah, we don't have a lot of season left, but this team probably for sure should be able to at least get into the playoffs. So, I think, let me check something for a second. Yeah, Duckett was a National Player of the Week. So that's in the entire United States. So that is something we've never seen before, and I'm pretty damn impressed with him on that sense. So I think we're good with that, and I think this is a good point to stop the episode. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Akron Zips Dynasty Mode. So in next episode, we'll obviously get the rest of the season done. We probably won't get the championship game done in next episode if we do get there. Because we probably leave it for its own episode again. But I'm very excited to see what this team finishes off the season like. Also, all the recruiting seems to be going well. So this is a much better year than last year was. Last year was such a strange season, but it's good to see our team rebound. So listen down below, and I'll see you guys next time.